What's going on, fellow Planeswalkers? Matt here at Teringer MTG. Wanted to just talk a little bit about the Avatar PreRelease and just how much of a blast that was. If I'm being honest with you guys, I feel like Sealed is maybe my new format. Like, I really enjoyed it. I remember having a blast. Actually, it's funny I say that. Coming back to Final Fantasy after an almost 20-year hiatus, which is how long I was basically gone from the Magic scene, was drafts. I mean, playing Final Fantasy drafts, it was awesome. Like, I had a blast with that, so I didn't know why I thought that the pre-releases would be, any different. But they did something different this time. If you did not get a chance to play in one of the pre-releases, they actually did separate colored boxes for each of the core colors. And the only thing different about each of them is that instead of 6 packs that you normally got in the pre-release, you got 5, but then you also got a seeded pack that was mostly made up of cards that were the color of the box that you chose. This is not probably a shock to anybody, but the color that went first was, in fact, Toph, because she's total BA and BAMF, as they say. But this was the first color to go. There were a lot of other, I gotta say though, honestly, a lot of the other colors had real strong presentation, and I'm not sure which I think is the most powerful. I think I just, I got a little lucky with my cards that I got. And I'll show you some of the pieces and some of the combos that kind of went in my thinking and my thought process with the pre-release. But honestly, it's probably the most fun and fair format that I have played since coming back. And I've done Standard. I went super hard in Standard in last RCQ season. I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to do Standard this go around. I might, because I think they're holding the tournament here in Cincinnati. So I may try and get in and qualify for that. I got close last time. I've also I play a good amount of Commander. So, and even with all of that being said, why do I love this so much? There's a few very specific reasons. One, I think for new Magic players, this is a inexpensive entry point for you to come in, experience a new set, have a great time with your friends, have a great time with the cards, win some extra packs. Even if you don't win, you still get a pack for participating. There's all just good stuff. Nothing but good stuff comes out of playing these, and there's no real like top prize with most of them anymore. Like they didn't make it where it's like a bracket challenge. Now some stores still do that, and I think it's great if you have people who just they do a solid job, like with drafts where they're the top rank. I play because I want to have a great time, but I also I want to win. But that's not what it's about. I think it's a very inexpensive entry point for someone to come in and have a great experience with a new set, and then for them to get kind of a feel for the set and decide before going whole hog like I did with Final Fantasy whether or not they want to get into the set or not. I say now that there's 7+ sets a year. A lot of people, they can't afford to go, making $300-400 Commander decks. They can't afford to change their Standard deck every 2 weeks as the meta changes. They've got a limited resource, a limited budget, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be able to enjoy and have fun. So I say all that to say, I had a blast. I played green with a splash of red. It's interesting because I had enough that I probably could have gone mono green. I went green-red just because I managed to get 2 of the 2-color lands that synergized, and I had a few specific cards that I had gotten that I thought were going to be great support to the deck that I had kind of built. Now, if you're not familiar with green and, how green works, it's just kind of, it's big green stompy, right? Mana ramp and big green stompy. So when I started going through my cards, I always look for a couple of things. I look for mana curve. If you're playing a 40-card format deck, you're running about 17 lands. I was able to run, I think, 16 lands because I had a couple of dualies, and I had one of the artifacts that lets you do that too, tap for land. But I also had a bunch of mana ramp in there as well, which green is well known for. So I usually look at trying to have a strong 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, so you get that nice curve, and then your 4 drops is your bigger stuff, and then maybe you got 1 or 2 real big meanies, right? Well, a lot of the green this time around is lower cost things that eventually become bigger because you can keep earthbending your lands and doing all those pieces. So I actually, one of my favorite cards, and this was totally the MVP for me, like this was the card that I think ultimately ended up winning me a lot of my matches. I did end up going undefeated until my last game, and then I had some misplays. It's still a learning curve for me. I had some misplays, but the turtle duck, I got 3 of these in my draft box, which for a 1-drop is insane. A 0/4, you can block just about anything that people are playing in the first 3 turns without any worry, even if they had a spell that, it's going to pop it for 2 with their 1/1, it's still not enough damage to kill it. But then the fact that you also have the secondary ability to change it into a 4/4 and give it trample for a little later swing is crazy. There were a couple of games where I had 2 or 3 of these out on the field at a time, which you can swing pretty hard pretty fast with that. Now, that was great turn 1 play, right? Play the turtle ducks. Sometimes turn 2 I play 2 turtle ducks. But it was a toss-up. I did end up pulling the Great Divide Guide, who was awesome because most of the cards that I put in the deck were allies. And then, of course, having lands, I didn't need a lot of mana fix, but having the ability to turn all of my creatures that are allies into mana rocks was awesome for some of my bigger cost creatures. I did have the 7-drop moose lizard dude guy. Is a 7/5 something reach or something. He's pretty solid. Very, very scary in later games. So he was awesome, especially because it paired super well with the Raucous Audience, which I did have 2 or 3 of these that I pulled. So with the Raucous Audience, being able to have it be basically a mana dork, but then the moment that you have a creature with power 4 or greater, it taps for 2 instead. So you can see where this is going with the turtle duck. If I had a turtle duck out, I could just pay 3 to pump it up to a 4/4, and that would mean that my Raucous Audiences would tap for 2. So a lot of times what I would end up playing is I'd play the Great Divide Guide on turn 2, then on turn 3 I have my 3rd mana drop. That means I've got 4 tappable mana. So there was one particular game, and this is where I ended up making a misplay. I had, Turtle Duck turn 1, Great Divide Guide turn 2, turn 3 I had 4 mana, so I played 2 Raucous Audiences. So then, turn 4, I didn't think, and I could have, this is where my misplay came in. I could have tapped 3 mana to turn this, or I could have tapped 4 mana, not these 2 specifically, and this is what happened, is I did actually tap for 4 with the Great Divide Guide and my 3 lands to play the Boulder. Now, the Boulder is a 4/4, and then it lets you Earthbend. I had the ability to play a 4/4, which I could have buffed my Turtle Duck to a 4/4, and then tapped these 2 creatures to also cast the Boulder, and because of the way that the Boulder works, I would then have 2 4/4 creatures, and I would have been able to Earthbend for 2 instead, which, it may not seem like much, but having an extra creature on the field and a 2/2 Earthbend in the same turn on turn 4, I just went from having a one single 0/4 creature to having, 2 4/4s, one with trample, and then a 2/2 land that is going to come back, in the event that it goes away. So anyway, that's my hot take on my experience with pre-release. I had a blast. I did get to open up a couple of other pre-release boxes, the blue one and the red one, which was Katara and Zuko, respectively, and a lot of cool stuff in both of those. I just know that going into next year, if I'm being honest with you, there is very few things apart from the Ninja Turtles that, memories from my childhood, the nostalgia factor is super real for. So, at the end of the day, when that comes back around, I'm going to have to clear my schedule because I had so much fun with the pre-releases that I just want to see how many I can fit into my schedule because it's just fun. It's just fun. It's fair. Everyone gets a fair crack at it. Sometimes people pull really rare cards that really make their deck slap. I had a I mean, I didn't have any crazy cards that did crazy stuff. I just had really good synergy and a lot of mana ramp. So I could afford to cast creatures every single turn with the green. So that's my take on the Avatar pre-release. Check out my other videos. I know I just did one for a Commander bundle open for Avatar, and I'll be doing another one here coming up here shortly. So be sure to check those both out. If you like this kind of content, please tap that like, follow, subscribe button. It really helps out a lot. And let me know what you want to see next in the comments below. So appreciate you tuning in, checking this out. And let me know your thoughts on the pre-releases and what deck did you go for. We'll see those in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll catch you on the next one.